We take it for granted. I take it for granted. And I didn't. I made a misstatement there. I said I grew 5 humans. I didn't grow 5 humans. I didn't do a damn thing. I gave them a space to hang out, where they grew from 2 cells into tiny humans. I didn't pick their eye color. I didn't tell the kidney when it was time to develop. I didn't grow the hair, the fingernails. What did that? Oh, that. Inside me, when I was pregnant with this last set of twins, I was rocking in practice. And I am belly to belly with moms. And my babies are kicking, wrestling match, 2 babies in there. Adjusted to that week before. I've got life inside me. The day that you lose reverence and appreciation and gratitude for what we are, you get your ass back on track. And you remember this talk in this moment. Life is precious. Every day, all day. The expect miracles, it's all over my office. Breadcrumbs, right? I didn't even think about it. I'll circle to that in a couple of stories here. But what light bulb went off for me this morning, it's like, expect miracles, right? What's Einstein say? There's 2 ways to live life, as though one is that everything is a miracle and one is that nothing is. Which way are you living your life? And please answer that honestly within yourself. I don't need your answer, because I'm not living your life. But there are moments when I have seriously lost gratitude and I need checked, especially if I'm going to an office where my job is to reconnect people to themselves, to source. If I don't have reverence for life, I need to get my hands off those people. Then the power in my adjustment is operating at like this percentage of what is possible. You put your hands on somebody, you center your heart first. You take a moment to say thank you for the gift of holding space for that person. Remember that they came from 2 cells. You have no idea what they're going through. So that second lesson is reverence for life. Always. Every day. My 3rd chiropractic story is probably going to be kind of tough to get to. So I have 5 kids. Roman is like my lion heart. He's my 14-year-old. He's so strong. He's a wrestler. He's a football player. He's really stoic. Like, he's just calm and steady, man. Like, you see me get riled up. I don't think I've ever in 14 years seen my son get riled up. I don't know if he came in the world that way and now he's leveled himself out. But he holds such a ground for our family. Then you have Jagger, who he's just my little hippie baby. He's just happy all the time. I mean, joy. He teaches me joy every day. I mean, the littlest things. Did you see that sunset? I mean, he is just constantly in awe of life. He's chill. He is just happy to be there. He's always helping me with the 2-year-old, always asking what he can do. And there's Knox. I'm going to come back to him. And then there's Magnolia. Everyone's like, you need a daughter. When I was pregnant with the last set of twins, they're like, do you think it's a girl in there? Do you think you need a daughter? You gotta have one. I'm like, oh no, I got this boy mom thing down. And I get them, they're simple. I'm a woman, I'm a little crazy. I don't know. And Magnolia is she is all things sass in this world. She is 2 and she will let you know. And her favorite thing right now is I do it. I do it. I cannot help her with anything. She has to do it. I don't know where she gets it. I'm proud of her and you're all at the same time. And then my baby Phoenix, this last birth was a lot of things. I'm gonna pause from one story, I guess, to tell another one. But so I lost. My mom transitioned in January of 2016 when I was a few months along with this last set of twins. And I was in my own practice, and when you're processing grief and you're showing up for people, like you're emotionally and physically going through a lot. And hindsight, I probably didn't take proper care of myself, powered through, championed through, pushed through, gotta do it, gotta be there. Can't stop, won't stop. Gotta be there, they depend on me, so went to it. Worked up until it was time, and labored at home with my midwife and my sister and my husband, and walking in, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. And I don't know, hindsight, if something was wrong or if during that process of grief I had lost some connection within myself or some trust in my own body because of what I'd watched my mom suffer through in her passing. But I labored for like 12 hours at home, and I was like, I don't know. And I'd worked, in Kansas, the midwives have it pretty sticky, and so I worked with a midwife and an OB, and so I had plans for both, just depending. And I looked at my midwife, and I was like, I don't think I can do this. And she's like, you can do it. And I said, okay, maybe I said that wrong. I can do this. I'm not supposed to be here. And innate does this sometimes. And when it like drops through you, you just listen, no matter what. And this was one of that moments. And that I can always trust. Innate never steers me wrong. I was like, we need to go to the hospital. My water had broke, and she's like, oh, God. So we're like rushing. We get to the hospital, and Magnolia came perfect. It was my, like, just perfect birth. No epidural, completely connected, laboring in whatever position I want. Just hold her straight to chest. It was beautiful. And it was about 6 months, almost to the day that my mom had passed, and here I'm welcoming my daughter. And so I'm in this state of euphoria, of like this circle of life moment, you know? And then I look up, and I can see the midwife and the doc and people all scurrying, and I'm like, so my sister took Maggie, and Phoenix started just turning 360s, literally, like turning all of it, could not get a read on the kid. Well, hospitals have this policy, how long you can wait between births. And I was coming up on that length, and he was like, I'm gonna have to take the first C-section. He's in distress. You're not super stable. We gotta go. And I looked in that like moment of failure, that shame that I had dealt with in my first birth, here I am again. And I was like, okay, and I looked at the midwife, and she was like, you knew, though. You knew you were supposed to be here. And I did go back into that innate moment, and it's always hard to tell the story on a stage like this because this is what the lights looked like. They like wheeled me back into the OR, and they strap your arms down like on a crucifix because I wasn't blocked with an epidural, and they had to put me under. And I'm like looking up at these lights, and there was this beautiful nurse that was praying over me, and it's like one of those moments that I was like shaking my fist at innate. I'm like, damn it. Like, I trusted you. We could have done this at home. Like, why are you bringing me here right now? Please let me wake up. So I go through that process, and I don't remember coming out at all. I'm so sensitive to medication. I don't do well with anesthesia at all. And I have a picture, though, that they put Phoenix on my chest. I don't remember holding my baby for the first time. It was really hard to say out loud. It's taken a lot of self-work to even, like, forgive myself for being a chiropractor of all things and having a C-section. But my dad leaned in during that picture, and he was like, we were so worried about you. And he's crying, and I started laughing. And I was like, it's okay. Mom helped me the whole time. I don't remember saying that. But the nurses, everybody around was crying. And I think, and this must be why I needed to tell this part of the story, as Patty's up there talking about babies being born the way that they're supposed to, and how innate flashed in, there's not a woman that I can't relate to when they come in my office. I've felt it all. Giving birth vaginally and a C-section is fun. Getting to heal from that, and then 6 weeks later get back in an office where I've seen over 100 people in an afternoon. Like, my body's, while nursing, my body's been through it. And I have to believe that innate invited me into that experience so that I could have sympathy for other women that have to go through those things, and to teach me about shame. Because if I felt shame, I bet other moms have felt shame. Other men have felt shame. And as chiropractors, our job is to set people free. And what I've learned is shame is maybe the number one, shame and fear. Those two things, they're devils that will shake you out of your truth. And so I believe life used me a little bit in those moments to carve me out so that I could share in moments and hopefully tell the story like I'm doing right now. So if anybody relates to that, because chiropractically, guys, you are the product, right? So when you step to the table to deliver your product, if you suck as a person, your product sucks. So you're going to have to do self-work to be the best version of you. And do you know how long you have to do self-work to be the best version of you? For the rest of your life. And just when you think you're like, man, I'm doing it, I'm good. Shit, I got something else I need to work on. Start now, by the way. Good place. As a student, start, looking at yourself objectively now. Look back. What have I been through? Are there areas of shame in your life? Why? We're supposed to be the lifestyle, right? We're supposed to be that poster. I actually was supposed to speak at Focus OKC maybe 2 months. Oh gosh, it was only 4 or 5 weeks after I had Maggie in Phoenix. And Tim Young is one of my best friends. And I called him and I was like, hey, I can't make it. Physically not feeling up to it. And that was half true. And the other half was I couldn't fathom